Hey world, welcome back to another episode of Be Inspired podcast where we're inspiring you to live the abundant life we deserve. We have another awesome guest on the line, Janai from Uganda. What's going on?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Yeah.
Thank
Uganda.
you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. We going international now.
Uganda's featuring. Great job.
Yes, yes, 100%. So before we get all into it and dive deep into it, I just want to thank all our subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for thank you for commenting. And if Janai says or me say anything tonight that inspires you, jump in the comments. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you heard that inspired you or resonated with you deeply. All right. And I just want to shout out Creative Dream Collective just because they do all our flyers. And if you need any flyers, t-shirts, designs, anything like that, they're good. They're linked at the bottom. So go ahead and check them out and contact them. So Janai, tell us a little bit about us and how you got into life coaching.
So, ah, so basically, I think I actually started, my background is child development.
Okay.
And so initially, I used to work with kids as a facilitator, a life skills facilitator. But then over time, I just realized I think I need to find a better way to execute this. And then I joined Mind Valley and I was with you, I remember. And
Yes.
yes, it was such a beautiful experience being part of the Mind Valley Life Coaching certification. A lot
Mhm.
to learn. Like it gave me such a very good framework of how to really conduct a session. So it was really, really good. And I think also it connected more with me as a person. Like I learned so much for myself first. And I think the best thing you can do for people is to first go through what you want to teach them. First experience that journey and then you know how to pass it on. And I feel like Life Mind Valley did that for me. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Nice. But what led you to Mind Valley? Because I know you've been in child development and it had been an awesome experience. So what was the breaking point or what made you decide? How did you find Mind Valley?
So actually how it all started, because like I said, I used to be like a life skills
Yeah.
facilitator and I used to partner with schools. But I found that many times when I'd work with the kids and try to meet the parents to maybe give feedback and ask them how they can support or let them know what we're going to do, some parents would be like, we need that. We need what you're teaching the kids. But I think I had like a little bit of a imposter syndrome inside of me. Like, I don't think I'm bold enough or qualified enough or brave enough to work with parents. It's easier to work with kids, but not with parents.
They were a
And
little
so,
scary.
yeah. But then I realized that I needed to do it. As much as it felt scary, I really needed to do it because the only way I could help the children was to help their parents understand where they're coming from. And that's when I was like, I think I need to grow myself as a life coach so that I know how to interact better with parents, especially because when you're working with the two, there's like a lot of friction that can happen. You don't want to come off like you're on this one side. You want to come like you want to be the person that's bridging the gap, which is causing the pain point in these situations. And that's when I was like, I think it's time for me to grow myself as a person, but also to grow my skill so I can be able to serve better.
Feel the fear and do it anyway, huh? Imposter syndrome, feeling like you're not good enough. But it sounds like even though you was feeling all of that, you still decided to jump. That's awesome. So what drives you to keep going or pursuing success?
What drives me to keep going? In my mind, I've kind of resolved that life is about growth. And there comes a point in my life where I just feel like I need to do more. I need to, I need to evolve in a certain way. And so just that nudging feeling of I need to be better. I need to improve. It gets me to think what are other ways I could maybe plug myself into or institutions or groups or trainings so that I can become better as I go. but also we live in a changing world. Every day things are changing, like new information is coming, and you want to stay relevant for your clients, and especially with young people who are
Yeah.
very exposed through social media. You need to be current, or else you're going to sound like that old granny who is so nagging with outdated information. So you have to, because that's how you connect with them, so
Yeah.
that you earn the trust for you to speak to them.
Yeah. So bridging the gap. So it sounds like you're more of like teenage years or younger. Where are you in there?
Yeah. So I work with children between the ages of 8 and 18, but I found that some of my clients are 25. I have a client who is 33 years old. Um, yes, but initially my age group gap was 8 to 18. And
Hmm.
I have a team of 8 people, amazing people, or whenever we go into a school, we split the kids up in small age groups. And so each person facilitates particular ages because of age appropriate information, but also breaking it down for the different ages to understand the same concept in their own level of understanding. Yeah. So, but that's pretty much the gap. But when it comes to like my one-on-one coachings, I have clients who are even 33 years old. Yeah.
That's good. I like that you merged the two. You were already doing life skills and you decided you needed more. And now you have merged the two and become a life coach and a bridge the gap between adults and their children.
Mhm.
What's some of the interesting experiences you had coaching a parent or teaching a parent to understand their child?
I'm a parent too, by the way. So I'm also speaking from experience. I think as parents, we have this belief, this mindset that we are the ones who are the teachers. We are the right ones, you know? And so I've had sometimes parents approach me and say, my child needs help. I need you to talk to my child, you know? And along the way, we get to realize that there's some things that we have to adjust on our end as the parent. And that is normally the struggle, because parents parent the way they were parented, you know? Nobody gives you like a manual, a parenting manual. You have to figure it out, you know? And so it's really not easy for parents either. So it's that moment where you have to sit down with the parent and say, there's some things we're going to have to adjust on our end and realign, or there's some areas we're going to have to grow out of or into, you know, that can be really tough for parents at times. Yeah. So you have to be like really sensitive, but also very empathetic to them,
Yeah.
because empathy is very important, because already they are judging themselves as a parent when their child falls off, you know, or when the child is not living in accordance to the expectations. There's that natural subconscious self-judgment that we have as parents. Oh, I failed, or what could I have done better? Where did I go wrong, you know? So you really need to be very empathetic and very patient with them
Mhm.
as well, to help them get to that place where they feel comfortable to evolve and question certain things they're doing from a willing place, not from a place of, well, they've told me to work on it, you know, but from a place of, I want to grow. I want to be better. I want to be the parent my child needs, you know, or I want to be a better parent than my parents were.
Yeah.
Some of that sort. Yeah. So empathy.
Then I also know that can you give us an example of one experience where your child or someone's child was teaching them versus them being the correct one?
I'll use my experience.
All right, MJ.
Yeah, I'll use my. I think I've had these moments a lot with my daughter. She's 8 years old, and there's this one time I was helping her do her homework, and while we're busy doing the homework, she mentions in passing and says, "Mom, I want to tell you something, but please don't get mad." And I'm like, "Oh, why would you think I'd get mad? Doesn't matter what you do. Everybody makes mistakes, you know?" She's like, okay. And she continues doing her homework. And just when she was writing the last sentence, she goes like, Mom, I missed my exam. I'm like, what? I literally turn, look at her, and I'm like, what did you say? And she's like, I told you not to react. And I could see like she was on the verge of tears. And in
Mhm.
that moment, while I was really shocked that I'm like, 8 years old. What are you doing missing an exam? You're only 8. I would
Yeah.
understand a teenager, but 8. But you see, I'm already jumping to conclusions
Mhm.
before giving her the chance to explain why and what that even means. But in that moment, instantly, just the look of her wanting to cry, the fear in her eyes, like, here we go again, here we go again. It just got me to question, is this what I've done a lot subconsciously without realizing that she would even warn me before she says something? And the moment I noticed her tears, there was that immediate switch, like, Janai, awareness, awareness, awareness. And immediately I just stopped and I was like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not mad. Tell me what happened? And I had to first hug her for a bit. And then she explains to me how she missed the test. And it was a
Mhm.
very simple thing. But that got me really questioning myself and saying, Janai, is this something we need to work on as mom? That when she says something and we're in shock, how do we respond when we get shocked by a situation or by a statement? And so in that moment, I was actually learning, like the tables were reversed. It wasn't me teaching her not to miss a test. Yes, we talked about that later. But the priority right now was me learning the lesson of self management, self control when things get out of the way, and better communication when you're frustrated. And yeah, so now I'm very, very conscious. Like when I notice maybe my tone is changing a little bit from the normal tone, I have to go like, yeah,
In yourself, making sure you think before you react or respond.
yes, yes, yes.
I like that so much because, like you said, it doesn't come with a manual. So we don't know and we only learn from what we've seen. So the fact that you was able to learn that lesson in the moment, it shows that children could also teach us how to be good parents as well, even though we think we're always right.
Spot on. Spot on.
So what has been the thing that drive you to be a coach? Or what has not that, but how has becoming a coach changed your life personally?
I think becoming a coach has been like walking with a mirror in front of me, talking with a mirror in front of me. Like everything I say to my clients or my students, I always have to ask myself after, Janai, is that what we do as well? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think becoming a coach has actually helped me become a more conscious person because you realize that you cannot preach what you're not practicing. You get what
Yeah.
I mean? And it was something I had to learn because at some point in my life, it was very easy for me to give somebody advice. But when I'd find myself in those stressful situations, my survival brain would kick in immediately and take over. You get? But because I'm constantly also echoing some of these things to my clients and asking them open-ended questions, it's now it's like a tape that runs at the back of my head that now I find myself sometimes sitting down in moments and saying, Janai, what are we feeling right now? Why do we feel this way right now? Where is this feeling coming from right now? You get, Janai, step back. Janai, don't say a word. Just keep quiet for now and listen. Janai, try and understand their perspective before you answer. So I feel like life coaching is, for me, has being a life coach to other people is like walking with a mirror right in front of me. Like, check yourself, check yourself. Everything you're saying, do you practice that? Everything. And I'm thankful for that. I'm actually very thankful for that. Yeah.
Same goals is one of the guests that I had on the podcast also said something similar. If their energy is anxious or angry or discombobulated. They first look at themselves because we're a walking mirror. Like if your clients are anxious or nervous or anything like that, it's because you're reflecting that energy. First look at yourself. So it's like when we first came on and I asked you, hey, are you nervous?
Hmm. And I was.
Yeah. And I told you it's just a conversation. We're just gonna have fun.
Yeah, it's incredible because I really think even coaches need coaches, And I've also come to realize on this journey that sometimes I need to take some time off and also invest in a coach coaching me. You get what I mean? Because you need somebody to hold you accountable as well, somebody to help you see the gaps that you're not seeing. Being a life coach does not mean you have arrived and you have all the answers, but you're willing to be present in the moment. You're willing to check yourself. You're willing to assess yourself, and it all starts with you because until you go through it and you practice it yourself, you won't know how to guide a client or how
Yeah.
to invite a client to that reality as well, So it's not just one of those jobs where you clock in and clock out. It's like it's part of you. It's your lifestyle as well. And it has to start with you.
It's one of the biggest moments that you've had in this experience so far.
Biggest moments are the aha moments in my clients. Like those moments where you see something, but you can't tell them because they need to figure it out themselves. Um, there's an amazing young man that I'm coaching right now. And I remember as we were going through a session, and in the beginning, he felt, no, I'm comfortable with this. And I tried to invite him again to say, can we try this new perspective? It's like, no, I'm comfortable with this. And then as we kept going and going and going and going, and then he goes like, now I get what you mean. For me, those are moments where I'm like, okay, he's got it. You get. And in the beginning, sometimes you really have to have a lot of patience with your clients as well, because everybody gets to that place at their own pace. You can't like create like a structure, script of, okay, we'll have this session. By the time we get to this session, you need to have unlocked this. And yes, that's what you hope for your client to get. But you're not the puppeteer master. You get you're the partner, you're the encourager, you're the friend that is walking besides them, at their own pace and giving them that safety to feel okay in the moment where they are, but also curious about what would it look like if I moved to the other next step. So it takes a lot of self-control as well with you as a coach, because sometimes they're like, no, we need to get it. We need to move from here to here because you see it,
Yes.
but you have to hold yourself back and allow this person to just evolve at their own timing. It's like a butterfly. You know that stage of the cocoon when the butterfly is moving out of the caterpillar and becoming a butterfly? Interestingly, if you try to help it come out, you weaken the butterfly. So you have to let that butterfly come out on its own, at its own pace. It has to go through its own unique transition for it to develop into this big, beautiful butterfly with beautiful colors. But if you help it, interestingly, it grows weaker. It comes out weaker. And in most cases, it won't last. It will die soon, you get. Or its colors won't be as bright. So it's the same thing. It's not a quick fix kind of
Yeah.
thing. And that's one of the challenges sometimes I have, especially because I work with children and the parent is the contracting client, but the child is the beneficiary client. And the parent has had it. They've seen this problem longer than I have. You
Mhm.
also have to understand that. So in their heads, they're like, no, enough is enough. You need to fix this child. And I'm like, no, we're not fixing anybody. we're just layering off, taking off those peels slowly by slowly, and also understanding the child. Yeah.
Okay. So I asked you what was one of your most highest experience. So what's one of your most challenging moments that you had as a coach?
Like I mentioned earlier, when you have to tell a parent what they need to work on, that is the hardest. I remember once conducting a parenting training, and I asked the parents and I said, how many of us have ever apologized to our kids? And immediately I had laughter, like, this mockery laughter, like, sure, who? Me? Apologize? They are the ones supposed to apologize. And it's even more comical, especially in Africa. Like guys will go like, me? No, you're joking.
It's so funny because I could see that. I could see.
And immediately I'm standing there and I'm like, I have just lost my crowd completely. they've like unsubscribed. This moment, I do not have any person right now. And so I was really trying to help them understand the concept that as parents, we're also going to make mistakes, but how we own our mistakes is us showing our kids or providing our kids with an example of how they should own their mistakes as well. Because I find that many times when I'm working with young people, they're like, my mom doesn't listen. My dad always thinks he's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And really, they are complaining about something, but you have to figure out why does it feel this way to them? What's that evidence that is justifying the statement that they are making? You get what I mean? Maybe what if it was true? What could I as a parent learn from that? You see? And so I always try to remind parents that even while the Bible says children obey your mother and father, the same verse continues and says, do not exasperate your children. You get what I mean? And so getting the parent to that place of saying, okay, I'm willing to look at my faults. I'm willing to change something, that's normally not a very easy journey to take. But I think it's actually one of my most interesting because over time, as you slowly walk with them, some of them start to get it, and then they're like, I feel like now I communicate better with my child. My pressure has gone down because now I'm realizing I don't have to shout about everything, And those are like, I really love those moments because you're not just providing life coaching, you're now also indirectly healing their pressure,
Yeah.
Because yeah. So but
Not
yeah,
only
it's the
that,
parent.
yeah, not only that, healing the pressure, you're ending generational trauma. You're
Mm-hmm.
ending fear. You're ending so many things. I was looking in one of my notes, and this is gonna be interesting. And I wrote in there, whoopings could be tied to domestic violence, right? And here's
Mm-hmm.
how. I could say I whoop my children. And then later on, my daughter, I tell her, "Baby, I love you. This is what happened, blah, blah, blah." I apologize. It's also similar to domestic violence because a man or
Mm-hmm.
husband would beat you up and then come tell you, "I'm sorry, I love you," blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but so when I put that connection together, I had a difference in, okay, not to say I'm out here abusing my child. I'm not saying that. Just
Yeah.
disclaimer. So CPS don't come to my door.
You
But
better put that disclaimer.
I'm not abusing my child. I'm not whooping her. I'm just sharing a story. But that's when everything clicked for me. It was just, wow, like that's so deep because it starts at a young age. If she's seeing that, if they're seeing that, then what else could happen? Who else is that affecting their life? And another man is going to be able to do that. So I
Yeah.
like that, what you said.
Yeah. Actually, another thing I just remembered, another tough experience in my line of work is moments where the parent brings the child, but the child is like not interested because they feel like mom and dad just want to fix me into something. You get what I mean? And because the parent has invited the child to meet me, obviously the child will feel like you're on mommy's side. You're that auntie they've sent me to discipline me. You
Mm-hmm.
get what I mean? So
Yeah.
even while I'm working with children, I have to be very, very patient with them to allow me into that space. Because here's the picture. It's like let's say, for instance, you're having a fight with your wife, and then you say, you know what, I know somebody that you could talk to, And she's probably thinking, like, why are you deciding for me who I should talk to? Why can't I decide for myself?
You sure you don't need somebody to talk to?
Oh, you're the problem here, not me. So it's the same thing also with the kids. And so oftentimes I always tell parents, do not force. You can have the conversation with your child and say, would you be willing to talk to somebody outside of this family? Someone you might feel comfortable with them, but just get to meet them and see. If you're comfortable with them, then we can. So I always tell parents, don't force it. Don't tell them, I'm taking you to see somebody. It's not that because you need help, I notice that you're struggling with ABCD. I notice that our relationship is really, really struggling. And I guess we both need to find help somewhere. Would you be willing to see somebody, talk to somebody out? But in the beginning, I actually realized that many times, because initially I used to do counseling, and I noticed that most young people, every time the parent would say, can you see a counselor? They'd be like, no, 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 no. You see, but life coach is more accepting, you get. Because when the parents would say, I want you to see a counselor, already the subconscious interpretation is, I'm a problem and I need to be fixed. You get. So they're resistant to that. So I always tell the parents, please do not mention counselor because we're not doing counseling. We're going to do an assessment to first figure out, is this a case that a life coach can take on, or is it a case that a therapist can take on? And if it's a therapist, I will recommend a therapist. Yeah. But if it's a life coach and the child is comfortable with me, then we can start that journey. And every time in our sessions, the children always say, will you tell my mom and dad? And I have to give them my word and say, whatever we talk about here will stay confidential. Unless it's going to risk your life, then
Mm-hmm.
I will have to call for help. But the way you explain it to them is also very important. And you have to be honest, because kids read energy. They can read the lie behind your words. And yeah, so when I have to go back to the parents to give guidance and let them know, okay, this is how I advise we move forward. This is how you can adjust certain things at home to support so and so. I have to be very, very careful not to say things that were discussed in our conversation. Yeah. So even when the parent says, that child does ABCD, I also can't tell the child, your mom feels like you do. No, that you're causing conflict there.
Yeah.
You see. So that's also a very, very hard, tricky thing to do. You have to be really, really conscious and attentive, and your heart needs to be in the right place for both parties. The moment you feel somewhere like child is the problem,
Yeah.
maybe you shouldn't handle this case because you're naturally going to side on the parents' side. Or in the moment you start to feel like these parents are the problem, you have to be very careful. So that's another challenging place because parents are asking, what did he say? What did she say? Yeah, and so you just have to find that balance, not to cross that line, to protect confidentiality between child and parent, and yet still invite them to see different perspectives in this challenge that they're facing, so that on their own, they're able to recognize and say, oh, maybe I've been seeing this whole situation from one side. Yeah.
That's very interesting. And how are you able to stay neutral on both sides? And what helped you along the way staying neutral between parent and child?
I think I got to a place and I told myself, I'm a mediator. I'm a bridge between these two. And it's my responsibility to try and support them to bring back that connection. It's my joy. It's not just a responsibility, but it's my joy. I kid you not, sometimes I literally sit down when I'm praying for my clients and I imagine my clients hugging, like if there's, let's say you sent your daughter to me, and while I'm praying for my clients and saying, God, guide me as I help this person, I'll sit and I'll visualize and imagine them hugging, imagine you and your daughter embracing each other and saying, I'm sorry, I did this, So I always imagine that. So that imagination always keeps me connected to the most important thing, which is bridging the gap between the parent and the child. And because you want to bridge the gap, you have to be very sensitive to both needs and respect both opinions, whether you agree with it or not.
I imagine it takes a lot of emotional control to be able to do that.
Hmm.
I know some situations where when we're talking to our girlfriends or talking to our guy friends and you tell them your situation, they're always like, well, she wrong, instead of looking at it with all the facts
Yeah.
objectively versus subjectively. So it's good that you're able to have that discernment to stay neutral and be able to
Hmm.
hear both sides.
Yeah.
And prayer is awesome because you're setting the intention of what you want to expect at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and one of the things I wanted to say, because I know children is a challenge to deal with. I had one client because I do therapy. I used to do therapy with children, but I no longer do. One of the child that I had, it took us about 12 weeks of just playing games.
Hmm.
Nothing about his past, nothing about trauma, nothing about what's going on. One word questions. 12 weeks just to build a relationship and build that rapport with him so he could start open up.
Hmm.
So what you're doing is not an easy task, especially with children who have experienced some things. So I commend you for that. You're doing amazing.
Thanks. Thanks. And interestingly, I'm like, I look really, really young when kids meet me, And I remember this one particular client, his dad kind of brought the idea to him and saying, maybe you should see so and so. And he was telling me, he was saying, I am not about to sit in front of an old woman who is 50 years old telling me what to do and what not to do. And he was so open with me. And then he decided to look for me on social media, like, I need to know who this person is. He was telling me, as soon as I saw your face, I was like, okay, I think I'm happy to meet her. And here's the interesting thing. When I was younger, I hated the fact that I looked small. I hated the fact that I looked young because in the African society, I felt like every time sometimes I'd walk into an office and I'm like, well, I have this proposal, A, B, C, D. And this one time, like a lady literally looked me up and down and said, but you young girl, what are you going to teach us? And now I'm like, now do I have to tell her my age for her to believe I'm not that young? you know? So I really felt like my structure and how young I look, and I'm like 162 centimeters. I don't know what that is in feet. We use centimeters here. And I'm like 52 kilograms. I look really petite, And from her view, she's really right. I look so young. Like, what am I going to tell parents who have 4 kids? And the funny thing is, on the side of the parent, it's like parents have to warm up sometimes to believe that I'm old enough to help their kids.
Yeah.
But the moment the kids walk into their room, they're like, oh, we found our mate. We found someone who is hip like us, cool like us, So for them, they instantly connect. And so I think that's why I'm saying one of the challenging things is when I have to now invite the parents to see a different perspective. Maybe it's also that subconscious mindset of they're probably looking at me like a little child. How am I going to start this conversation? So on one end, it's a plus. On the other end, it's something we have to grow into with the parents.
100%. Janai, you sound like you found the fountain of youth over there with you looking extra young. So tell me, what tips can you give me so I can look extra young?
Laugh a lot, Samuel. Just keep laughing. Stay happy. Yeah, I would say stay happy. Drink a lot of water. I'm not very consistent with exercising, but I try to make sure that I exercise because I feel like every time I exercise, my brain just opens up, you know? But I would say laugh, 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 laugh. That will keep you young.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
So I got a few more questions for you, but we're just gonna wrap it up right here. Say have a son, daughter, and I come to you and I need help. What is your process like? How would someone know to come to you to work with you?
I'm on LinkedIn. Some of my clients find me on LinkedIn. Interestingly, I've actually just started getting on social media. Initially, most of my clients came through recommendation. So, but I'm on LinkedIn as Janai Faridijuwani. Yes, I think that's the best place to find me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. No Instagram, no email.
My email. Oh, yes, I do have an email too, which I gave you. So my email is janaijj132@gmail.com.
Yeah. So my final question to you, Janai, would be, what is something that you thought I would ask, but I didn't ask you?
One question you thought I would ask, but honestly speaking, I tried to think about that and I say, this is too stressful. Just don't think about what he's gonna ask. Just go up there and let him throw whatever he's gonna throw at you. Be authentic. Yeah. So I'm just being honest. I tried to think about it and I say, nope, we're not doing this to us. Because I'm actually, I think I'm one of those thinkers. Think through things like I'm always thinking through data and I'm learning over time that that can cause me a lot of stress because I end up getting into the position of wanting to control. It's actually a control thing. You're overthinking it so that you prepare yourself for, and now I'm in that phase where I'm just learning how to surrender and flow. Just surrender and flow. If you make a mistake, we're gonna learn something out of it. If you do great, then yes, but just be in flow. And yeah, so I tried not to think about what you're gonna ask.
Okay. So what's
Yeah.
some last minute tips you can give our audience?
Some tips I would give our audience, parents, just connect. Try as much as possible to connect with your kids. Have conversations, in your own unique ways. Take walks together. Have dinner together. Get off those phones, When the kids come back home, just put your phone down for some time and just ask, how was school? What was challenging today? What was exciting today? Because if you're not talking to your child, someone else is, but you don't know what they're saying to your kids. So connect so that you get the permission to hear what's on their minds, to know what they're thinking, to know why they're thinking, Yeah, so I would say for me, that's the most important thing I would say to parents. Connect.
I
Get
think you
off those
dropped the
phones.
mic on that one.
It's scary somehow because with the level of social media, kids now have phones at very young ages. Some are not like there's no control on the phones, and parents are also always on their phones. Because now we also work on the phones. You get so we never really connect with our kids. We just know that this young human being who has my nose walks like me, but you don't really know that young human being because you're on the phone, they're on the phone, but you don't know who's talking to them.
Yeah, I like that. Technology is one of the things that I kind of like put to the side, especially at this young age for them, because it allows us to connect more. No phones at the table, no TV while during the week while school is going on. So it's a little bit of us more connecting. So we're outside every day trying to do stuff together versus
Yeah.
them being inside and us being inside and watching TV.
And even while I say it, I'm not saying it as if I'm I'm immune of that. sometimes I recognize like my childhood, like I think this week, I had so many things I was trying to accomplish, and she got back home, and the whole time I was on the laptop, but she walked in and she's like, "Mommy, guess what? Did you know that so and so did this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. Can you just give me a minute? Let me finish, you know?" And she would go and then come back, try to continue the story. And I'm still like, okay, okay. Can you just give me 5 minutes? Let me finish, you know? And it dawned on me that I did not hear how her day went in school.
Yeah.
And then when we were going to bed, I asked her, how was school today? And she's like, you know, it's time to sleep, right? I tried to tell you, but you were so busy. So I'll tell you tomorrow. I had missed a window. You get. And then tomorrow came and she had forgotten. She had moved on.
Yeah.
So yeah, those windows are very important. When they come, take that.
Janai, I want to thank you for coming on and being authentic, open, and sharing your knowledge and expertise. Guys, if any one of you resonate with what Janai said, if you have questions, if you have comments, share what your insight was. Share your biggest insight in the comment section below and connect with Janai if you're looking. Even though she's in Uganda, she can definitely help you.
Yeah.
As we can see, we're on a podcast in 2 different time zones. So, guys, I
Thank you
want to thank
so.
everybody for logging in. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Be Inspired Podcast, where we're inspiring you to live the abundant life you deserve. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much, Janai.
You're welcome. Thank you too, Samuel. It's always an honor and a pleasure talking to you. Thanks.